housekeeping. It's going to be getting to know Mick today, also known as Mikhail Alfon. He is a 100% self-made OC entrepreneur who is also the owner of Blue Light Media, which is an OC-based marketing agency. But I think rather than me laying it all out, why don't you tell us more about yourself, Mick?
What's up, guys? LinkedIn Local, thank you so much for having me here. I'm pumped that we get to collaborate. And this is definitely never done like a chat online like this before. So this is definitely a new experience for me. But a little bit about me. I was born in LA, but raised in Orange County. So this is definitely where my heart is. I started off my career, I guess, when I was like 18 years old as a nurse, actually. But some of the challenges that I ran into was that my identity was stolen by a family member of mine. And as a consequence of that, I actually lost my nursing license. And that was around 2009, 2010, right after the recession of 2008, right? So it was pretty close to impossible to get a job. And at that point, even getting a job at Burger King wouldn't happen. So I ended up, knocking on doors, cleaning carpets, just renting the rug doctor from the pavilions down the street over there to help make ends meet while I moved back in with my mom. And that was definitely one of the first times in my life where I started to learn about the importance of staying resilient. And that was, what was that now? That was, I can't do math, like 15 years ago, something like that. So, there's definitely a lot that I learned there. At that point in our lives, we were using EBT cards to get by, or food stamps, if you're not familiar with those. And I hope that you don't have to be. This was big. This was back when cash for gold was big too. So we were constantly selling my mom's jewelry to make sure that we could pay rent. But after that, I actually started playing poker professionally and did that for 3 years while I ran home games here in Orange County as well too. But my poker coach told me, after about 3 years of watching me swing up and down, he told me, look, I don't like the life that you're living. So you can either go back to school and I'll pay for it, or you can get a job. And I didn't want to go back to school. So I got a job at a telemarketing firm. So I'm sorry, we might have been on the phone at one point or another because we were calling incessantly at that time. And I was actually able to see that company go from 10 people when we first started to about 110 before I got fired from there. And I actually got fired because I had started my first agency at the time, and the person caught wind of that, the CEO caught wind of that, and felt that was a conflict of interest. So upon firing me, he also decided to sue me for $6.5 million. I didn't have $6.5 million. So, we obviously had to go through and get defense, which drained all of the money I already didn't have. And when I started my company, it was knocking on doors. It was, taking deals for $600 to build out a website, do a photo shoot, and negotiate with Yelp at the same time. And that's really where this business started. So we went from there, getting these small deals to now working with like Fortune 500 companies. That wasn't without any heartache either, because 2 years into building that first company, I actually had to part ways with my business partner at the time. And he was my oldest friend of 18 years who had already seen all of these things that I had gone through. And I think that was probably one of the more challenging times in my life, because I had already dealt with a decade of, trying to rebuild after my nursing license was taken, after my identity was stolen. So having to rebuild again, like, it was just this pain and this, I don't like to say anxiety, but it affected me physically to the point where I couldn't even lift a 10-pound dumbbell, right? So got through that in 2017. And once that separation happened, we saw massive growth and massive progress, not just, from a financial standpoint, but also culture, the clients that we were working with, the creative that we were doing, and really our entire skill set. And I finally got to lead a company in the way that I wanted to lead a company. And then now, bring it to present day, we're faced with another challenge. And I see that in a weird way, it's kind of like, all right, this isn't my first rodeo. So, I'm very confident that we'll be able to come through this. And I don't just speak for myself, I speak for my team, and I speak for all of you as well too. Anybody here probably had to deal with 2008 in one way or another and has had challenges for themselves as well. So I believe that and I believe you, all of you here, will be able to get through all of these things stronger and better than when we got into it, right? So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what's on the other side. And that's a little bit of my background.
Thank you so much, Mick, for just kind of sharing that whole journey with us. I think one of the things that really emerges from what you just shared is that your life is definitely filled with a lot of difficult moments and uncertainty. And one of the things that has also happened recently during this pandemic that you've talked about on LinkedIn and Insta is they had to also postpone your wedding. So I guess I'm just really curious to know, you just seem to be positive and upbeat. You're doing hilarious TikTok, Insta videos with your fiance. How do you really keep it together? What's your secret?
Yeah, that was definitely a kick to the stomach. I mean, not only did we postpone it, but we actually kind of, in a weird way, we kind of canceled it, and we had to cancel it 5 days before it was supposed to happen. And actually, I see Brittany Boakley out here in the crowd, who was supposed to come to the wedding, and she was getting that text message that we're canceling as well too, right? So it was definitely a kick to the stomach. But I think the biggest thing to remember is really just the perspective of how you look at things, right? So one of the things that having to cancel our wedding showed us was that, for one, probably 2 to 3 weeks before the wedding was supposed to happen, if anybody's had the experience of getting married, you're worried about the dumbest things. You're worried about the seating chart, what the place cards are going to look like at the tables, and some of these things. And yeah, maybe those were important before, but it starts to take away your focus from what was actually important, and that's the bond between you and your significant other, right? So I think on its surface is being able to step back and understanding that sometimes things are taken away from us that didn't really matter, so that we can then focus on the things that do matter. And I believe probably everybody here is probably FaceTiming their family a little bit more than they used to. Maybe they started building personal brands career-wise. Maybe they started implementing new processes that they've been putting off for months, if not years, before this happened. So, understanding that we are being shown what's most important. But the other side of staying positive throughout this is really just your perspective. And what you mentioned here was that my life is filled with a lot of hard moments. And there were some challenges, but I don't see them as hard moments, because there's the phrase that in our darkest moments, we actually shine the brightest. And while my mom and I were using EBT cards and selling jewelry, that was actually a time of humility for us, which I think everybody should be able to learn from, is we can get rid of these things that don't really matter to us, and really focus again on what's important. In addition to that, I learned during that time that I'm actually willing to clean toilets and clean carpets to make ends meet. And understanding that, we don't even know what we're being protected from is something that I think everybody can maybe take a moment to try and see what they could potentially be protected from. And in a very practical sense, Alexa and I, we ended up not having to spend all the money that we were going to spend on the wedding, because we only put deposits down, not the vendors, but hadn't paid the balances, right? So now, it's actually kind of a blessing, because she's actually not able to work since she's a hairstylist. So now we have this little cushion of money just in case things, don't turn around as quickly as we'd like them to. So understanding, now we look at that as look, it's not ideal, but the world, the universe, God, whatever you want to say, was protecting us from real financial hardship potentially. I mean, look, we're still feeling it, but at least we have this cushion to get through the next 3 months. We're not tapped out, because a lot of people, we might have gotten into debt if we had gone through with the wedding at that point, and then not being able to work, and then losing clients, and whatever the case may be, right? So it all comes down to perspective. You can get in a car accident and you can think, crap, my insurance is going to go up, or you can get into a car accident and say, I can finally get a new car. It's up to you on what you want to focus on.
That is some great advice. I think that we can all remember it is really up to us how we want to focus and what we want to focus on. One of the things that I think comes through from what you just shared is, and I think it comes heavily through what you share on Instagram and social media and LinkedIn as well, or just social media in general, is this idea of routines and systems. So we touched on this earlier for people who are just coming in, that you've got this great Insta story series called Earn Your Sunrise, where you get all your friends, motivate your friends to get up early in the morning at like 5:30 and go through this insane fitness routine. I mean, how do you think routines and systems have really helped you during this time?
Okay, so one thing I do want to clarify is that Earn Your Sunrise isn't actually isn't about getting up at 5:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning to get a tough workout in. Earn Your Sunrise means to set up a process for yourself and understand that every day is actually an opportunity for us to create something better than we used to. The sunrise is a blessing. Every day that we have is a blessing, right? And like every contact, every email, all of those things. So it's earning your sunrise is a blessing. So to my friends who are going to sleep at 5:30 in the morning, you are working your ass off from midnight to 5:30 when I'm sleeping, right? So you're definitely earning your sunrise as well. And I think that counts. But to answer your question about the importance of morning routines, look, there's a quote by James Clear that says, "We don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems." And whoever I talk to, whether it's a high performing CEO, if it's an athlete, if it's a psychotherapist, they all agree that a morning routine and some sort of structure is actually something that we thrive in. I mean, even here, when we get on this Zoom call with everybody, we have a certain time, we're here with community. We want to feel the structure of people around us. We want to feel like we actually have something to do, because that's what's driving us stir crazy, is the idea that like our schedule, like there's no schedule to be had, right? If you're in the position where your schedule got really messed up because of everything that has to do with COVID-19. So the importance of this is really like, when you have your morning routine specifically, because I like to start the day with this, you have to imagine it like your day is a battlefield and you're literally putting on your mental armor so that you can go through this and feel like you already had some control over your day, and now you can control the rest of it, you know? So I think that it doesn't matter really what you're doing, as long as you're setting aside some time for yourself to be grounded, to be present in the moment, and to also overlook your day and control your day instead of allowing your day to control you. And one of the things that you can simply do is just get a 5-minute journal, which allows you to kind of outline what you're grateful for, how you want that day to go, that type of thing. And if you don't have 5 minutes and you, for some reason, can't keep even that little routine, you know, we really got to look at that, because everybody has that time. But by looking at your day from a 30,000-foot view and really creating a clear vision of how you want it to go, allows you to navigate it a lot easier, rather than waking up and just responding to every email, responding to every text message, you know, responding to the kids, the dog, you know, like imagine yourself doing these and doing these intentionally, right? And once you start doing that, man, it helps your brain, it helps your heart, it helps your soul quite a bit.
Thank you so much, Mick. And I'm so relieved that you clarified that, because now I feel like my morning routine does not have to start with a 20 jumping jacks and can start with a cup of coffee. So I'm so relieved. So we've spent some time exploring, you know, what resilience looks like to you in your personal life, but I'm also curious because you are a business owner. You know, right now, many of us, whether we're owners or employees, we are going through a very uncertain time. And, you know, there are many of us at the same time, because we're part of a larger community, who need our support. So I guess my question is a little bit of a two-part question, which is, how can you be supportive of the community, the larger community, while you're going through your own struggles? And if you, on the flip side, you know, how as a business can you engage meaningfully with your community during this time?
Sure. So let's start with our community outside of the businesses or the colleagues that we have in our workplace. I do really believe that it's important for you to take a step back from the workplace, you know, and maybe find a group of people that are in a similar position. So one of the things that I started, for example, was the Orange County Founders Group, and it's a group of 8 people. And really, we're just talking about the different strategies, challenges that we're all running into, and we're offering each other their advice and support in that respect. And by doing that, by aligning yourself with people who are like-minded but not necessarily in the same field as you, you can start to learn a little bit more from them so that you can grow your own business. Because the thing is, just because I own a digital agency doesn't mean that I can't learn from somebody who's running, you know, a consumer packaged good brand, right? There's definitely some strategies there, and they're looking at things from a different lens than you are, so that support is there. And if you don't already have that group, what I would recommend is that you actually start very small, because at the end of the day, a group of 30 people is just hard to manage, and it's really hard to stay accountable with a group of 30 people, right? So start with a group of like 5 people or potentially 8 people, that so that you can continuously check in with each other, so that your group text message doesn't go out of control, that sort of thing. But create something that's manageable for yourself. And I think what's great about that is not only are you giving support to somebody, but you're also getting support from those people as well too, because as leaders, as high performing people, as you know, everybody here is that, right? You have to give yourself an opportunity to not be that for like an hour and just like be human. It's all right to be human for a little bit. So remember that. Keep the group small, and definitely, you know, find people that you can be completely open with and completely accountable with and to. And I think that's really going to help navigate through a lot of this a lot easier. So that's like outside of the business, right? But if you're a manager and you're a team, or you're, you know, an entrepreneur, a leader, whatever it is, and you're dealing with multiple people, you know, look, we have the ability to be a little bit more flexible because we don't have to sit in traffic, or, you know, most of us don't have to sit in traffic, whatever the case may be. We don't have to run to the next meeting. We're literally just clicking in and out. And even if your meetings go 10 minutes over, it's perfectly fine. I think that you have to understand that there is a little bit of empathy coming from everyone because we are all actually going through this together. But what I would suggest is that before you start every meeting, if you haven't talked to, like on a one-on-one meeting, if you haven't talked to one of your employees in a while, just ask them, how are you doing? And they're going to say, fine. Take a step back and ask them, no, how are you really doing? How's your family? Like all of these things. Everybody wants to feel a little bit of a connection right now. And that's why we're all here on a Zoom call in the middle of the day, right? We just want to feel connected to people. So just having those types of conversations with your employees or with your teammates and letting them know that you're human and that you actually care about them is really going to go a long way. I'm telling you, like, I get in modes too, where I'm like, we just have to get work done. And that's that. And that's that. Like, I'm human, and how I respond to things is by working harder. But in the last couple of weeks, I've taken a little bit more time to just ask my team, like, how are you doing on a one-on-one basis before we start our meeting? And just tell them like, hey, look, before we get started, I want to check in with you. We haven't really talked. And all of a sudden those periods turn into exclamation marks in their email. And that compound effect, when you see that as a leader coming back and you see like an exclamation point coming back, because everybody's seen it, like you already feel better. So that energy is reciprocated, right? So if you can take a moment to be human to the people, to breathe life into those people, they're going to do the same for you. And I think that community and that connection is really something that's important, not just now more than ever, but again, we're being forced to look at the things that are most important in our lives. And we are all high performers here. And we've probably focused too much at the task at hand and not the humans at hand. And now we have an opportunity to do that where everybody's actually receiving that. So understand that your people are very important and take that time, and it's going to pay off dividends.
Perfect. I think that's a great reminder to all of us that, you know, we're in this together. It's a hard time and we're all human. So we can take a little bit of time to just say how, you know, check in with everyone and see how they are before getting into business. I think that is such a good reminder. Nick, I'd like to say thank you so much for opening up your life and sharing all your insights. Right before we break for Q&A, I'd like to hand over to Carol to do one of the favorite things that we like doing at our events, which is the group picture. So over to you, Carol.
Hi. All right, so this is very much a tradition for LinkedIn Local OC. We'd like to do it in person, but like Vasu said, this is the next best thing. So get your cameras on, nice smiles, nice and big. I'm gonna do a couple screenshots. So try to smile for like 5 seconds. All right, well, go ahead. I'm gonna take the picture now. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Stay smiling, stay smiling. I'm gonna take One more. Stay smiling. And last one. One, two, three. Perfect. Okay. So then the last tradition that we like to do, go ahead and everyone get out your phones if you want to record this. We're going to go ahead and say LinkedIn Local OC all together. Hopefully it works out. And then make sure you hashtag LinkedIn Local OC if you are going to post this later on, okay? Are y'all ready? Unmute yourselves. You should be able to. Okay.
I think I blinked it. Sure.
We got 3 shots. Right, ready?
I would have brushed my hair, you know.
2, 3. LinkedIn All right. So that pretty much ends this little session. We will make sure to share this with you via email and our social media. For now, let's go ahead and go back to muting ourselves, and then we'll go ahead and move on to our Q&A session. And then just a friendly reminder, please drop more questions down below. We'd love to hear what you have to say. These questions are going to go directly to Mikhail. So back to you,
where do I look at those?
Sorry, it comes to me, and then I'll ask the question for the benefit of everyone.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, and are questions already in?
Yep, we've got a couple.
Okay, cool.
So I'm gonna maybe just get right into it. So I'm gonna go with the first question. We've got someone who's curious to know, are you pivoting or persisting in what your business is doing during this pandemic?
There's definitely a lot of pivots that we made. So for a little bit more context, we're a digital marketing agency. We handle everything from creative to media buying and everything in between, the strategy as well too. An example of a pivot that we've made is that, for example, we were going to do a live workshop partnered up with Learning Fuse that we've obviously had to change from doing live to digital workshops. But from a financial standpoint, we were actually going to be charging anywhere from $500 to $850 per ticket for this. And we're actually now giving it away all for free. And that's, for one, everybody in the market is doing that. But we also have to understand that, everybody is being cautious about the money that they're spending, right? And if we can deliver value in a genuine way, which is what we all believe in the first place, we believe that it's going to really just empower our brand a little bit more. And also, frankly, from a business standpoint as well too, it's very top of funnel for us, right? So we have built out our email sequences, something that we've been putting off for the last 6 years. We've also set up some new worksheets and I don't know, just different collateral to help deliver value to our potential clients and other marketers. So we're definitely pivoting in that sense, but we're blessed because we're positioned toward natural product goods and e-commerce brands. So we're doing a lot in that space, but I think operationally we're making pivots as well too. Something that has, this has definitely shined a light on how the company operates as a unit. And I think honestly, when we come back, I think that I'm going to just have it, part-time. I hope none of our team is here because I don't want them to get too excited, but doing something like part-time in the office and then part-time as a work from home, because I think that it's healthy to have a little bit of freedom and when you have to be productive, because we don't always hit flow at the same time as everybody else. So being able to have a little bit more flexibility at home, I think we're going to start doing that, because it's actually not something that I was a big fan of beforehand, but I'm definitely seeing the benefits from the team. And to be honest, I'm seeing some benefits for myself too. So yeah, we're definitely making some pivots in that sense.
Perfect. We've got some cool questions. Let's switch it up a little bit and go. What is your favorite TikTok video that you've ever made?
Actually, the favorite TikTok video that I've ever made. Okay, so there's one on TikTok, and I'll shoot you guys the link so that you can include it in the follow-up email. Alexa comes to the office because she's not working, and I'm actually in the office still. And she started creating this whole minute-long TikTok of her dancing everywhere. She actually got on the desk, and I knew that she was just being kind of crazy, because she's hilarious anyways. And she got on the desk, starts twerking in my face. But what people don't realize is I was actually on a client call when this was happening. So I'm over here the fuck are you doing? Sorry, I don't know if we cuss here. I'm over here like, what are you doing? Only to find out that she's creating this TikTok video. So that's probably my favorite one that I was involved in anyways.
Love it. I feel like maybe we should have had Alexa on as well, like along with you to have this conversation. Yeah, I think she's going to be our next guest.
I was waiting for that.
All right, we've got somebody who's curious to know what's the best piece of life advice you've ever received.
My uncle told me, so when I was separating from my business partner out back in 2017, I was actually really scared because I didn't really know a lot about finance. And it was really simple what he told me. And all he said was that don't let your lack of knowledge in finance be your barrier to success. And I've applied that same thesis to everything else in my life. Just because we don't know something doesn't mean that that should be our barrier to making it happen in that certain sector. Because everything is readily available on YouTube. There's accountants who, like in this case, there's accountants who would be willing to give you free advice, whatever it is, and you can really learn a lot. And a lot of the learning is just by doing. And now, believe it or not, I've actually, since that conversation, I've actually been a lot more responsible with my finances, a lot more diligent about how we're tracking all of the transactions. Like I'm actually the person that is asking where receipts are. I'm actually the person that's like talking to my accountant about, well, have we looked at XYZ? You know, so yeah, that was really the biggest thing, man. If we can understand that, you know, learning the skill that we need to be successful is really just a Google search away, and like take steps toward that, I mean, we're going to be successful.
I think that's really good advice, to just not let a lack of knowledge intimidate you and go ahead and do what you got to do while doing and learning by doing. The next question that we have is, oh, wow, we've got some people in from Dubai, which is very exciting.
Yes.
So they would like to know, actually, and firstly, they would like to say your success is very inspiring. They're also very curious to know how you plan your career vision and whether you actually believe in the law of attraction.
How I planned my career vision?
Yeah.
Man, I'll be honest, like up until like 2 years ago, it was all reactive. Like when I was 18 years old, when I was 18 years old, I thought I was going to be opening up for Motley Crue, but I'm not. And I thought I was going to be a nurse. I thought I was going to be a professional poker player. I thought I was going to be the director of sales at the company that I worked with. And then I realized that it's not about the title. It's about my skill set and what I can bring to people and how do I want to amplify those things. So now when I look at my career and how I decide to plan it, it's really based on what I feel the most comfortable doing and where I think I can add the most value. Like I'm not the best marketer on my team, but I do think that for this agency, I'm the best leader, right? Because I can adapt, because I can, you know, close deals, whatever the case may be. So it's not, you know, I don't really identify myself as the best marketer in the world. I think I'm pretty good, but I more identify as the leader of this particular team, but that can translate into anything else. So when I think of my career planning, it's like, where do I want to go with my personality, with my particular skill set, and will I adapt to how things change in the future? You know, so I don't know if that really answers the question, but that's the best I can do, is, you know, doing it based off of what I feel is right and what I feel I'm good at in that moment. And do I believe in the law of attraction? In a way, yes. And in a way, no. I mean, yes, in that you should outline what you're passionate about and what you want to bring into your life, but wishing things into existence doesn't happen. You actually have to work for it. So if you have the audacity to write down these big dreams of making millions of dollars or whatever it is, right under that big dream, you got to outline every single step you're going to start taking to actually get there. And the law of attraction is about focus, not about magic.
Great. I think that's some sound advice. I've got a question here from Patrick, one of our friendly LinkedIn local co-hosts. Patrick he's got two questions. So he's curious to know, Mick, how are you approaching client acquisition given that marketing budgets are being slashed? And he's also very curious to know, like, what are the best industries that you see achieve real success on TikTok through revenue rather than vanity metrics?
Sure. So let me answer the first part first. So one, I think that we have to understand that although there are a lot of businesses that are cutting revenue, cutting budgets, there are still a lot of businesses that are actually dumping more into it. So you have to be able to see, again, this goes back to perspective, that there is opportunity here. Look at businesses like, natural products, any sort of video fitness, these types of things that can be done online. There's a lot of opportunity there, and there's still a lot of people spending a lot of money. And in fact, we're still getting a lot of inquiries about that. Some of the ways that I've changed my client acquisition, though, look, I'm just going back to roots, to like grassroots, right? So in the past, like we would put out a bunch of content. I would kind of do some networking and hope something pops up. If I'm being very honest, like that, I never liked, even though I was good at cold calling when I was doing it, I never really liked doing it. So I just preferred that the business came to me, and it did. I was blessed because we did good work. But now, like, look, like I said, I was getting sued for $6.5 million trying to build this company by myself, using EBT cards to get by. And what I did was I knocked on doors. I went on Upwork, I went on Thumbtack, and I went on Bark. And I started DMing people, the whole thing. And really, that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm not above any of that. And I have to take care of my family. And my family being my team, and I have to make sure that my fiance and I are okay. I actually think for anybody in the service-based industry, like Bark is a really nice tool, because you can actually consolidate like the type of lead that you want, and you can also do radius. And it gives you, unlike Upwork and some of these other platforms, it actually gives you their email address, and it gives you their phone number along with some of the other information. So you can actually call them, and you can send them text messages, whatever it is. So that's super powerful. So there's a lot of ways that we're just adapting there. And, to be completely transparent, it's not the best source, but I'm not leaving any stone unturned, right? I'm literally doing everything I can. As far as TikTok goes, for us, we haven't had the opportunity to use TikTok for our partners yet. I do think that where we would want to use that is with influencers, but there's some limitations that TikTok has right now for like the micro and mid-tier influencers that Instagram doesn't have. For example, like a link in the bio, it's not as easy to get there. The navigation really isn't there. They're more focused on the main feed, right? Some other things like a swipe up for more, like those are some limitations there. But I think for a brand awareness play, TikTok is going to be something that's strong. But as far as what industries are doing well, I'm seeing big advertisers on there, like Apple, like, globally recognized brands. It's not really something that we're doing. So I don't have a full answer for you outside of that, but we're definitely implementing it as a brand awareness play. Ask me in 6 months, I might have a better answer.
Thanks, Mick. I am loving the involvement from everyone, because I'm sure that everyone's paying attention, because we're getting a mix of marketing questions and, personal branding questions. So sure. I'm glad that everyone is fighting through lunchtime to pay attention.
I appreciate you guys.
Mick, Brooke would like to know, firstly, she says she loves all your advice that you've given, but she would really like to know, what would you do when you hit a creative block or when you feel defeated and you just need to get your motivation back on track?
I hit a creative block probably 17 times a day. And you really just got to walk away from it, quite literally. Some of the things that I do personally is I will take a lap around like the outside of my office, or I'll just go outside, get some sunshine, put the devices away, everything like that. But the other thing is too, like, sometimes I'll try to schedule time. And I think if you hit a creative block and like you can't get started, just start. Like if it's, I think I'm a better writer, or potentially like I think I'm a better writer than most things. So I'll just start writing words. Like it doesn't even make sense. It's not going to be good, but I'll just start writing, and eventually I'll start to, it's kind of a warm up, and then something unlocks. But sometimes that process takes like, 15, 20 minutes of writing absolute crap before something actually comes together. But definitely taking a step away from it. Like one thing I want to clarify for everyone too, like if you end up following me on Instagram or anywhere else, or if you know me personally already, I definitely preach hard work. I definitely preach power through it. But last night, I came home, I felt defeated as well. And I had 6 tacos with my fiance, and I fell asleep probably before 8 o'clock last night. Like you have to allow yourself to do that and understand that, 15 minutes of work at 100% of you is way better than 3 hours at 10% of you. So just allow that rest to happen. You know what I mean?
I think Mick, one of the things that we're all going to be grateful for you today is that you're just giving us permission to be human. I think that's something that we just need to hear. It's fine. Like, you want to go eat tacos and go to sleep at 7, that's perfectly fine. I think just related, because this just came up while you were giving your answer, related to that is, I think, how do you come out of fear of starting something new? I think the person means like when they're middle-aged. So how do we come out of fear of starting something new when you're in your middle ages?
I think, I mean, I wish I could ask them a follow-up question. It's like, what are you scared of? You know what I mean? Like, think of like the worst case scenario. Like right now, for a lot of us, we're already in our worst case scenario. For me, when I'm starting something new, like the worst case scenario is like, maybe I go broke. Maybe I move back in with my parents or my uncle, and I have to like get a job. Like, that's just not that bad. Maybe I have to tell my friends that I'm not the owner of a company anymore. Yeah, that sucks. That's a hit to my ego. But on a very practical sense, like those things don't matter, dude. Like if your family's good, if the people that you love are good, and if you're good, like that's really the thing that matters. So I always look at worst case scenarios. And I realized that the worst case scenario really, really, really isn't that bad. And as much as it pains me to say it, if blue light for whatever reason failed, and I don't believe that it will, but if it did, it's like, okay, like my team knows I did everything I possibly could. And maybe like there's going to be a couple days of like, that sucks, but like, I can help them get a new job afterward. I would still help them succeed afterward. Like, I don't know, just the worst case isn't that bad. So as you're starting something new, think of what the worst case scenario is. And from a practical sense, you'll realize it's really not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? And it'll probably help you move forward, but that's what I do.
So I think a good follow-up to that is that Nada doesn't have a question, but she'd like to let you know that she really appreciates all the honest comments you're making right now. So that's a little bit of feedback for you, Mick.
I appreciate that.
So I think just 2 questions that are kind of revolving around the now. So TJ's curious to know, what are you looking forward to most after the stay-at-home orders are lifted?
First of all, TJ, hello. One of the things I'm definitely looking forward to is getting a beer with you. But what would I be most like? I'm looking forward to throwing a freaking party for my wedding. You know what I mean? Because we've had to make a big adjustment to, I think now we're just going to have like our immediate family there. I mean, initially we were going to have like 300 people at the wedding. So the one thing that I'm really looking forward to is having a huge party. My fiance, she has Tia Manuel, and when he gets a couple beers in him, man, he's like the best dancer. And I'm not allowed to say no, being the new person into that family. So dancing with him is definitely something I'm looking forward to.
And I think wherever we are, we'll be dancing with you, Mick, to just celebrate the fact
I appreciate
that you're now married. So we've also got another question that relates to the now, which is, what is your aha revelation during this time? Your biggest aha revelation?
Wow. Okay. So this is actually more of I'll give you one personal and then one on a business sense. The one personal one is that for probably about a year, I was preaching to earn your sunrise, and I never actually saw it because I was inside of a gym. And I realized that at the top of my parking structure, there is nobody parking there. So I've gotten all my equipment, started working out there, and now I see the sunrise every morning. And I've realized that this is actually going to happen after everything is lifted, because it is the most beautiful thing to see the sun come up over Orange County while you're in the middle of your like alone workout. Nobody else is up there. So that's like an aha moment for me on the personal side. On a professional side, the aha was that, we lost some revenue too. We lost some clients too. We took a big hit last week in one email, to be honest. And then my aha was that I was holding on to so many things that I thought only I could do and not utilizing my team enough. And so I've delegated some of the business development to my team. Talia specifically is helping me with, reaching out to people cold, inviting people onto the podcast that I host, and some of these things. So even that little bit of an unlock was such a big like aha. Like I was still, as much as I thought that I was delegating. I was still holding on to so many things that were keeping me out of my zone of genius. So being able to delegate some of these not nominal because they're all important, but some of these things that were like forcing me to not think at my best levels has really helped quite a bit. And then again, I actually just learned about bark.com, and it's not ideal, but look, I'm getting phone numbers. Like I was cold calling all day, man. Like this is fun. I feel like I'm back in the boiler room. So, so there's a couple from a professional sense, it was delegation, that there's more sources for leads. Those were my biggest aha moments.
Thank you. I think just because you ended off with business, a business question that we have is, what is your favorite platform for organic traffic in 2020?
Organic traffic driving to a website or on that platform itself? I guess so. I'll just answer both since it's a little bit more difficult to get them. So organic traffic, I mean, like LinkedIn is huge right now. LinkedIn from, a professional standpoint, and also TikTok, you have two big opportunities to get a lot of organic reach for the content that you're actually producing. Organic traffic back to a website, honestly, Instagram. And Instagram is actually pretty tough, but like SEO is pretty tough right now too, because the first half of the page is now dominated by ads. Everybody's doing SEO. So if you're just starting out, like it's hard to get up above the ranks. So I like Instagram because you can use Instagram stories to say link in my bio, those types of things, and drive traffic to whatever destination. So if you're looking to grow your platform, TikTok and LinkedIn, they have great like organic reach right now. If you're driving traffic back to a website, potentially, I would say, whatchamacallit, I would definitely say Instagram there. And then also you can kind of turn Instagram into your own website. Like that's where people are hanging out. But yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much for that. We've got one more. So I just want to put a shout out that we've got 5 minutes left before we're going to be wrapping up. So if you do have any more questions, please feel free to put them in. If we don't get to your question, we will send in a follow-up email, Mick, way to reach Mick. That was a tough one. So that you can go ahead and speak to him directly. We've got from Nada. So she didn't only give you feedback. She is also now asking you, how would you describe your leadership philosophy, and what do you think makes a great leader?
My leadership philosophy is from Simon Sinek, and it's that leaders eat last. And what was the second part of the question?
Let me just repeat that again. So how would you describe your leadership philosophy, and what do you think makes a great leader?
Sure. So again, it starts with leaders eat last, right? Like you have to understand that the people, if you're in a position where you manage people or you employ people, you do not have your livelihood unless they are doing okay. Like that's just the bottom line. So you have to do whatever you can to take care of them and understand that that is your front line so that you can do the things that you want to do. So yes, 100% leaders eat last. And I think what makes a great leader is somebody who is willing to do the work that they're delegating out to people. And one of the compliments, shout out to myself for being awesome. One of the compliments that Hannah gave me recently on my team is that she appreciates the fact that, I'm supposed to be the boss. I hate the word boss, but also like I'll get in there and I'll edit copy with them on Instagram posts. I'll go in, like if they're busy, I'll go into a client's Instagram account and do whatever needs to be done there. Like you have to have the humility to like come down and like work with your team on those projects and not just think that they're going to make everything happen. So I think a great leader is able to not only navigate, but also do. Like that's the biggest thing. Like Michael Jordan, for example, like, man, like could he navigate a team? And I heard he's a jerk, but let's just keep with this. He could definitely navigate a team and rally everybody together. But at the end of the day, it was also great at execution, right? So I think that great leaders can really do both and that they should do both. So yeah, that's my answer.
Sorry, I'm just smiling because we got a comment in from David, who's changed his background profile to make it earn your sunrise. So this is how he's earning a sunrise.
I love that.
So that was a really nice touch there over David. I think one more question that we do have there, which we're curious about, is what goes in your 5-minute journal?
It depends on the day. Like, okay, so for those of you not familiar, the 5-minute journal forces you to outline 3 things that you're grateful for, 3 things that would make that day great, and then a personal affirmation to yourself. And then at the end of the day, you also do it again. It says, what are 3 great things that happened? And then what could have made it better? So what goes into my journal can be something as little as, you know, I'm really grateful for the fact that I have the means to have an espresso coffee maker and have a great cup of coffee every single morning. Or it could be something a little bit more deep, but I like to get as specific as possible, because I think with gratitude, it's important to put yourself emotionally and mentally in that place to actually feel that emotion. So I can, you know, I'll put something in there like, I'm really grateful for the conversation I had with my uncle and how he navigated through some challenges, you know. So those are some things. And then obviously things like a roof over my head, I never want to forget those things, but can get super detailed or super macro. As far as how I might want my day to go, it's just, again, that depends on the day. And that's like, that can be from a work thing. Like, you know, I would love if I got approved for the PPP Act. Like, I haven't yet, but that would definitely put some ease on me. But also it could be other things. Like, I just hope that, like today, for example, something that I put in there was that I hope that I was able to deliver great value to you guys. So, you know, it just depends on how that day is. And, you know, and then what goes in after that, I kind of recap. I didn't end that as strong, but.
So we're going to have to take our final question. I like how you ended with, you thought about this morning how you can do your best here. And I think this last question sums up, it's very generous, is how can we in the LinkedIn Local OC community support you as a business owner?
You know what? For one, let me start by saying that everybody who's stuck on this whole time, thank you so much. It's such a blessing to be able to talk to so many of you. I would love to be able to connect with you after this. And I know that my card's out there and everything else. So I feel blessed that I'm able to have this opportunity with you guys. And if I'm being really honest, I'm going to allow myself that gift, and I can get into that conversation with other people. If you know anybody with like a consumer packaged good, like a nutrition bar, like a protein powder, anything like that, that sells via e-commerce, we can definitely help them out, and we do a good job. So I'd love that introduction. On a personal level, like, honestly, on a personal level, I'm pretty good. Like, I feel really blessed every day. Like, this is something I've been wanting to do with you guys for a long time. So I'm not going to, get greedy on my blessings. I'd love an introduction if you have it. If not, I think the best thing that you can do is take maybe one thing that I've said today and see how you can give that to somebody else. I would kind of want to end with this, guys. Like, I know that we're running close on time here, but one of the best things that I've heard recently is that the blessing doesn't happen to us, it happens through us. Right? So that means whatever talents that we have, whatever blessings that we have, they're actually meant to be shared with the people around us. And if we can empower somebody else to be great, it's going to come back to you. Maybe not from that person, but definitely the cosmos work in your favor. No matter what happens, like, you know, everything is going to happen the way it's supposed to, but like, it's not necessarily how we want it to look or how we envisioned it. And how it's supposed to is defined by the things that we do every single day, and our habits, our routines, how we treat other people is really what shapes the experience of our life. So if you can just remember that, I think the world will be a little bit better of a place for everyone.
That is such a lovely way to start the afternoon today, Mick, honestly. So I think it's really inspiring to hear that, and a really good reminder. Once again, thank you so much for sharing your time today. I can't believe it's gone by so quickly. And if just a reminder to everyone that if you have any questions, you know, don't be afraid. We are going to we will be having a way for you to get in touch with Mick. So so thank you. Sorry, give me a second to get my bearings. I think I'm just gonna hand this over to John to just help us wrap up the event. So over to you, John, wherever you are on the screen.
Thanks, Vasu. Mikhail, brother, man, I miss you, man. I wish I could go over there and give you a big hug, dude. It's awesome that we can still feel somewhat of like a community here. And so, guys, everybody on, thank you very much for being here. Again, like everybody, Vasu and Mikhail, thanked everybody. We just can't do this without you guys. The fact that we've all stayed on for this long and in the middle of our days is just it's a really humbling thing. Mikhail, your humility and just how genuine and generous you are is something that I think we all have seen today. So thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. And so some last minute housekeeping things. We will be sending out a survey, guys, at the end of this. We'll be sending that out in an email, and we'll also be including the recording. So if you missed it, you can go back and check out some of that fire that Mikhail dropped. And as well as if you know anybody, you can go ahead and actually forward it to anybody you think that would find value. So go ahead and do that. And then we'll have his contact information, his Instagram, his email. If you got any intros for him, please, you can get a hold of him there. And that's it, guys. We really appreciate your time, and let us know, send us a message if this is something maybe you're interested in the future. We can keep this going. Of course, we are really looking forward to just getting back in person. So thanks, everybody. You guys have a great day.
Appreciate you.